Right folks, it's Pete here. We're going to be checking out some of my hardest climbing ascents from over the years. Let's take a look. So I can see here the first one is Dynamics of Change, which is an E9, which I did back when I was 17. So it's half a lifetime ago. Half a lifetime, can't believe it. Back when I was 17, and it was my first E9 and a first ascent. So let's take a look. It's at Burbage South in the Peak District. On this climb, I actually had my parents out to come and support me. And I had skipped I think it was a geography lesson to come out and climb this route. So I was in sixth form at the time, and actually the story of like where the name comes from was actually a geography module that I was doing in school at the time. So the module was actually called Dynamics of Change, and I feel like that must have been the lesson that I ended up skipping to come out and climb this route. But then my parents came out, and you'll see on the clip that, yeah, like Dad is watching nervously and Mum is beeling, which I think is pretty, like, unique or strange in a way. Yeah, that they came out and kind of supported on such a dangerous climb. So on this bit, actually, there's this dyno to this hold on the lip, and I actually thought this was the hardest move on the climb. I've been back on it since, and I think the rock over is actually hardest, but at the time I was still I'm quite bad at dynoing, but at the time I was pretty bad at dynoing. I remember thinking when I was on lead, I dynoed to the hold, and I actually thought I was just going to fall off the move. And I remember thinking like, oh no, I managed to stick the move and I've got the hold. And I thought like, oh crap, now I'm going to have to carry on. So then you carry on, and then you end up getting to this kind of rock over move, which I feel like some people might have seen before. It's kind of become one of those moves in climbing which just gets played on Instagram Reels or something to loads. Yeah, so you make it to like the end of this rock over section. You can see it's like pretty run out at this point, and you have to then do the crux of another famous route called Braille Trail, which is like an E7 climb, and it's not too much of a difficult move, but it's quite like you have to stand on this bad smear, and you really just have to commit to the smear, and if your foot starts rolling or creeping on the smear, then it's going to be quite bad. Yeah, and people also love this clip because I start speaking to myself and just saying like top round like this, which I feel like has become quite I don't know, people still like write that in comments to me. Yeah, and then this end bit when you kind of pass the crux on Braille Trail, it's a lot easier to the top, but here like for sure you don't want to mess it up, because yeah, then it'd be really bad. Then you would just hit the ground. So yeah, it was a good geography lesson, that one, I think.
Yes. 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 Oh, yes. Yes. Oh, God, yeah.
Hey, if you're looking for 10% off your next order, support the channel, help myself, the producer and editor, keep the job, be very appreciative. Then you can use my name as the next code. My name is Culann, that's Culann. Use that as a code in your next order. You'll get 10% off what some say is the best chalk in the market. Although I am paid to say that.
The next one we have on here is the Kraken, which gets a grade of V13, font 8B, and it is a climb which my friend Tom put up, and it's a boulder problem down in the south of England. And at the time it was put up, it was probably the hardest crack boulder in the world, or one of. So yeah, big roof, pretty tough. Let's have a look. So yeah, the beginning of the boulder, it starts out with like pretty good hand jams. The difficult thing about this cave is that it's really close to the sea, and you get this kind of like sea smeg that we call it, like on the crack and on the rock, and it's really hard to actually get good conditions. So after the hand jamming section, you get like the first mini crooks, which is kind of, you can see coming into this like 3-finger drag. That I'm using a mono there with my left hand, and then again into a better jam. I don't think that's how Tom did it, but I quite like these kind of like hooky monos. I like a good ring finger mono actually. And then the next section is the crux of the boulder, and this is where Tom did like a mono move and then a full 360 round on the mono. I did a slightly different sequence, but still pretty tough because like all your weight, you can see here, all your weight basically comes straight onto that right hand, and you're just like fully on this mono trying to come through into these like paddle jams. The second half of the crack coming out to the lip of the cave is, I would say, like a little bit harder in the beginning. So you've done all the start, you've kind of like got the pump going, and then you have these like tricky crooks moves. Yeah, this is a cool move where you like ring lock past your own foot. Yeah, pretty unique, I think. And also ring locking in a roof, it's quite tricky. Yeah, this is Mari moving the pads and trying to film all at the same time. Usually how the climbing days go. Then this M section is kind of a little bit easier in terms of the actual jamming techniques. The jams are a little bit more solid, but you definitely want to know your sequence when you come out the end. I say it's easy, but that didn't sound easy, did it? Yeah, so actually this boulder problem was, I think, my hardest crack boulder. Actually probably one of my hardest boulder problems to date. So yeah, that's pretty cool. It would be hard to actually top out the crag, because the crag is just like a complete choss pile. So you actually just get to a break and then jump off. I'm happy with that because I just wasn't expecting to do it now. 12 years ago I couldn't even touch it. That felt good. A little bit slightly different sequence to Tom used, in the crooks, but it seemed to work all right. A funny story actually, when me and Tom first went and looked at this climb, this was before Tom ever did it, maybe like 5 to 8 years before he went and did it. So when I was quite young, we actually got trapped in the cave because the tide was coming in, and then we had to like sort of like paddle our way out with these pads, but then we couldn't actually get back along the beach to where we parked because the tide had come in too far. So we had to like properly just like chops venture up the side of this, up the side of where this is. It was like, it was just basically, you know, that sort of like steep scrambling where if you fall, it's not going to be great, but if you don't, it's absolutely fine. And then we got to this like massive brambly pile at the top, and then we had to do this like boulder pad surfing to get across these like huge brambles. Anyway, that's how we managed to get out, but this time I made sure I had the tide right. So the next climb is a route called Crown Royale, which is a climb at the Profile Wall in Norway. Profile Wall is probably one of my favourite places to climb. I spent loads of time there over the years, either repeating routes or establishing new routes. Amazing cliff in Norway. And if you're into difficult crack climbing, then it's well worth a visit. And when I say difficult crack climbing, then you want to be climbing about 7B and upwards to be able to like have a good solid trip there. So let's take a look around route. So yeah, the beginning of this route is you start off with an easy section and then you get to this tricky boulder problem. Now I'm not much of a boulderer. Like, yeah, my bouldering ability isn't that great. So you have some like kind of these powerful undercut moves. And for me, I thought actually this part of the route was maybe the hardest part. You have these burly undercuts and then you have to make this long move into a finger jam. I think some shorter people have done it and they've like gone into like a mono at the bottom of the crack and stuff. But yeah, I personally thought these sequences of moves were the hardest ones on the climb. And actually, having done all the routes at Profile Wall now, I think maybe this sequence at the bottom of this route is probably the hardest sequence on the whole wall. Just that's my opinion. Other people might think differently, but yeah, just going through these undercuts into these finger jams, I think it's pretty tough moves. Yeah, this bit's actually like slightly run out. Not like that bad, but slightly run out. Like you definitely want to get that purple cam in well, because then it protects you nicely for this next section, which is a little bit easier. But yeah, these kind of like slopey laybacks, when you know the sequence, quite easy. If you don't know the sequence, very, very easy to mess up. Yeah, and also you can see on this that I have two ropes. So I have one rope that I'm leading on,
Okay,
and then I also have a tagline here, which, because the route is so long, then I'm pulling up a second rack, basically so I didn't have to carry the rack for the top half of the route on the difficult boulder problem at the beginning. And from this resting corner, then you have like an easy traverse, and then you have like the second part of the route, which is a bit more sustained, but slightly, I'd say it's slightly easier moves, but a bit more sustained. Yeah, I think the really tricky thing with this route is that it's so long. Yeah, it's just really involved. And there's lots of moves, there's lots of things to remember. Yeah, gear, sequences, jams. And also I think the difficult thing about it is you have this hybrid between face climbing, so you can see here I'm doing quite a bit of face, and then you have to go into jamming techniques, and I always think it's quite difficult to like switch between the two. If you're just purely jamming, you're kind of like in that jamming mindset. If you're just purely face climbing, you're in that face climbing mindset. But switching between the two, I feel like they give different pumps, and then you can't hold crimps properly after you're really pumped in your hands from hand jamming. So I think that also is what makes it quite difficult. Interestingly, on this next bit, I mean I'd been working this route by myself, and it's since to this point I think it's had 2 other ascents since this one, and I think both ascents and other people that have tried it have used a completely different sequence to me on this section, so I think I might have bodged the sequence. That always happens when you're working stuff by yourself. You're convinced you've found the best way, like absolutely convinced of it, and then you see some other people get on it, and yeah, it's had like 2 other ascents, and then some other people have been trying it, and they're all using a different sequence to me. It would be interesting to go back and try that sequence. I would be interested to know. yeah, from this point where you place that good purple cam, and then yeah, you have a slightly easier sequence of climbing to get to this really good rest, and that's where you can basically hang upside down. I really like hanging upside down. That was like a savior for me. Yeah, I feel like if I couldn't have hung upside down, I would have really struggled. I mean, I was struggling anyway, but I would have struggled even more. Yeah, my feet in climbing are a saviour, has to be said. The next section after this kind of upside down rest, that's the red point crux. So it's not definitely the hardest sequence of climbing, but you've come so far to get there that there's a tricky move right at the end of the sequence to get like a thumbs down thin hand. And I fell off there. I actually fell off only once on the red point there, but I was very close to falling off when I actually did it as well. Yeah, so you can see here there's like a little bit of jamming, a little bit of slopers, face holds, heel hooks, toe jams. It's kind of like a real mixture of everything. I think for this route, if you were just purely a crack climber, it would be really, really hard. If you were just purely like a sport and face climber, then it would be really, really hard. You kind of need to be like a hybrid of both. Yeah. I would say the climber that can climb 8C plus crack and 8C plus face is going to do better than just a 9A plus face climber. Yeah, when you get to this point, there's gets a little bit easier, and then you have one more crux, and then yeah, you kind of you get out. And for this route, I really wanted to climb the whole wall in its entirety, because some of the routes on the wall, they're either like split down into some pitches, or they stop like halfway up the wall. But I really wanted with this one to like the full continuation, the whole wall, which is like 90 or 100 meter pitch. So actually when I started doing the top out, I only had, what did I have, like a 80 meter rope, I think. So then I had to untie, and then I had to climb the last 20 meters with that rope. But everybody, when I said that, everybody was always like, oh my God, you're climbing 9A or whatever without rope. I was like, no, absolutely, definitely not, because basically there's 60 meters of hard climbing, and then the wall like rolls off and like slaps out, and it basically goes from like hard and gets easier and easier and easier, and it's, you know, it's like 6B and then 6A and then 5 and then 4 and then 3, and then you're just like walking over the top. It's like yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to climb the whole wall in one single pitch. Okay, so the next climb is a trad route from Spain, and it was given the grade of 8B plus, and it was a crack. I thought, crack, 8B plus, there's potential to have a go at a flash attempt. So I was really keen to give like a flash attempt. So let's take a look and see how I did. So the first tricky section of the route comes when you have to make this rock over move into the roof. It's actually... So yeah, initially in the first section, that's where the hardest bit is. You have these kind of like finger jams and this like weird corner thing. I'd also seen some like knee bar potential as well. I still watch some. I must have watched some videos online of other people doing it, which is why it's a flash. I must have watched some other videos. But yeah, actually, when I started climbing, I was surprised at how good and locker the finger locks are. It's quite often like that with crack climbing. Sometimes, you know, your body can just fit the space and fit the jams really, really well. And with this one, because I think it was maybe like purple cam size in the crux, maybe a little bit thinner in places, like my fingers were just like munching in there. It was great. I have like proper sausage fingers, so purple cams are always good for me. Halfway through the route, you get to like this big jug, and then you have this like roof crack to finish. The roof crack is the end of I think it's a 7C or 7C plus route. So when you get there, realistically, you've already climbed the crux. It's just like keeping it calm to the end. But I do remember being very, very pumped on the final section because it gets a little bit thinner again. It's more like reds, which doesn't fit my hand very well. And yeah, I remember being desperately pumped and like having to go back and forth a little bit to this jug and really not wanting to blow it.
In the end, because I was struggling, it kind of became obvious as I started climbing to use the back and shoulders against the side wall to give me...
Good thing is there's some good heel hooks and footholds just here. Oh, again, it's always good to like just get your back and head involved a little bit. Anything you can get, any friction. Yeah, you can see here, like my hands just aren't going in as well as I would like them to. I mean, ideally, I would. My left hand looks good, but the right hand here, you can see it's starting to get thin. So I'm just getting the shoulders and back and the head involved as much as possible. Oh, I think it might be ring locking there. Yeah, it's definitely a little bit thin.
If I had carried on here, most certainly I would have fallen off. I knew the rest a few meters.
Yeah, I think also in terms of like trad climbing flashes, I don't think at this point actually 8B plus had been flashed on a trad route. So, which is kind of like a cool thing to you know, like try and do or try and... Oh no, maybe Alex had done the path, I think, which obviously isn't a path because it's 8B plus. Yeah, I think Alex Magos had done the path. Yeah, in Canada. So, but I think that's the only time 8B plus had actually been flashed before this go on a trail climb. Oh yeah, I've got the proper gurn out at the end there. And going very red. It'd be a common trait with me. Just big tomato head when things get desperate. God, yeah, I'm really struggling. God, I'm hanging there a long time to say how tired I'm looking.
Yes, come on.
But I feel like this is my climbing style. Just hang around and then just... Basically, what I tend to do is shake until this hand is nearly falling off. Shake this one for as long as possible, then grab the next hold, and then shake this hand until this hand's nearly coming off. And just like keep moving like this when I get really pumped.
Come on, Pete. Come on. You got this foothold on my face. Come on. Yes.
Yeah, so actually, after I'd climbed the route, I did think that it probably couldn't be 8B plus, and that maybe 8B was a bit more fair for this climb. God, crikey. Yeah, I'm very red at the end there. It's Spain, it's warm. I'm not used to it. I'm a pasty Brit. Tallow, my friend who's filming, just basically said, when in doubt, run it out. And I must have basically not placed anything because I was so pumped. So no way am I placing anything around that. Yeah, that's often the way to go though with these things. As long as it's a crack, it's safe. The gear might be like a long way away, but it's a roof. You're just falling into space. So yeah, just go big and get it done. Don't waste energy placing anything.